Morning, everybody. So today is my weekly 5 questions live call for this for the group, and so it's I want to kind of get into some of the questions that people have been asking me in the last little bit, and so we'll answer those questions. But before we do that, I just want to say that it's interesting because I right now there's currently an election going on, and the results aren't clear. And I was up late last night talking to friends and gabbing about it. So I got up late this morning, and there's a lot of people out there that are upset, frustrated, angry, disappointed, whatever it might be. And I was too. But one of the things that I've been learning through the SAGE process, and I've talked about this before about SAGE versus saboteur process, and some of you know about this, like Angie, you know about this. So the question I would ask myself, despite the feelings that were negative, right? And we all have negative feelings about whatever things that are bothering us. How can you turn that negative feeling or situation or interaction or relationship into a gift? What's the gift you could find from that moment? And that's really what my focus was, to say, well, how can I find a gift? And so I actually came up with two this morning, which was one. I think a lot of people were concerned about violence happening in the U.S., and that's been delayed and possibly diminished. So I think that's really good. And number two, I'm on a healthier eating kick right now. So I'm doing keto and I'm trying to eat more mindfully. And I didn't actually do any sort of stress eating at all. Like typically, I might stress eat and grab a bag of chips or have a bagel or or waffles or something like that. But I didn't have anything. I was like, nope, gonna stick to the plan. I'm doing keto with a combination of intermittent fasting. And I was like, no, I don't want to eat tonight. And I stuck to that. So again, you can find a gift in under the most really strained situations, which is a good thing. So being able to find a gift, given the stress of last night, I think is a really, really powerful way to navigate that type of thing. Now, the way we do these weekly lives is basically, you can ask any questions along the way in our community, and I will do my best to answer 5 of them in this short 30-minute session. And if you have extra questions, you can certainly comment below when it's live. I mean, later on you can't. But that's for sure. That's kind of how it would work. And there's Angie. Hi, Angie. Welcome to. I like seeing people's names pop up, and yeah, that's great. And you're even welcome to. If anyone want to join me on camera, you totally can for a little bit. But for now, like I'll just talk about stuff. And some of the questions that were brought up was about my corporate career. So I was in corporate for many, many years, and then the question came up. What did I leave? How did I leave? And what was the circumstances around that? And let me know if I got that right properly. Hi, Claire. Good morning. Looks like more people are joining it. So in terms of the corporate thing, so a bit about my background in the corporate. So I first started out as an engineer. I worked as an engineer for Bombardier for 4 years, and the reason I left Bombardier after 4 years was because I just got let go. I got kind of, and what happened was, it was the type of work that I just wasn't into at all. I didn't feel motivated. I didn't think I was really good at what I was doing. I remember one time I even got caught sleeping in front of the design thing. My boss came by and caught me sleeping in front of my monitor, which kind of sucks. And then I think slowly but surely I wasn't getting the projects I wanted. And after a little while, after 4 years, one of the projects kind of ended, and there was no new projects. And then they said, "Well, we'll package you out," and they packaged me out. And part of me was I was just kind of numb with the process. I was young and new, and I didn't really know. At that time I was really young. I was like, I don't know, 27, 28, something like that. And so I didn't really know, much about how that worked and whatever. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll figure out what I'm going to do next. And so when I look back, I realized, wow, I really didn't like what I was doing. I spent all my time doing a job. And what happens is we create narratives where we don't realize, we create narratives to hide the pain or the burden or the stuff that you don't want to deal with. And the truth is, I didn't like my job. I was bored at it. There was no excitement or thrill or interest in learning it. And my favorite part of my job was the people. I looked forward to seeing people in the morning, having those coffee chats. I looked forward to lunch, to having conversations with my friends. I looked forward to the baseball games, the softball games, outside of work, going out for drinks. That's what I look forward to. But at work, working, yeah, I just never, and it's different now. Like now when I'm working, like it's amazing how much I hustle in one day. I do so much work, boom, boom. I get in the zone. Back then, I can't even imagine like in an 8 hour, and we used to have 10-hour days, 4 days a week, and then one day off. So in at 10 hours, I can't imagine doing 10 hours of work of the designing of those planes. And so in retrospect, I just got kind of stuck. I had an income and I had a car, and we just did it because, yeah, you feel like you do it because you're supposed to. You feel like you're supposed to do these things. And I was like, well, I have an engineering degree, so I should get a job in engineering, and I need to work and then try to eventually maybe move up. But I just wasn't thinking about those things, and I just wasn't motivated. And, I created a narrative where I said, well, I'm thankful I have a job, and I'm thankful I have, a place to stay with my parents, and, and that's it. And I also had extracurriculars. I was running a theater company, so I was like, okay, I have a pretty good life here. But I wasn't thinking that, for 8 to 10 hours a day, I was mostly not interested or not passionate or not, I wouldn't say I was miserable, but it was more like just kind of stagnant, right? So, that's kind of, and so when I started looking for other jobs after I left that one, it seemed like all I could get were entry jobs again. I was like, man, I just spent 4 years. Do I want to go entry level again? Like, that's crazy. And then someone suggested I do an MBA. I said, oh, okay, so maybe I do an MBA. I was like, do I need an MBA? But then I decided to switch careers into brand marketing, into marketing. And then so I did my MBA. And then the last corporate job I had was in brand marketing. I was working at Kraft, and then I left Kraft, moved to Unilever, working on the Dove campaign for Real Beauty. And then the circumstance of that one, well, again, the circumstances were also kind of weird because this environment was kind of odd because I was working so hard. I worked about 80 hours a week. So I'd get to work around 8 a.m. and I'd stay there till like 9:30 p.m. every day, and then go home, go to sleep. That was my life 5 days a week, and then I'd work on the weekends anywhere between 4 to 12 hours per week. It was unsustainable, but it was the regular. It wasn't like, a hump. It was the regular thing that I would do. And again, if you have more questions, you can certainly put some below. And I see some people sharing some really great insights, which is awesome. So I was working 80 hours a week, and then eventually, things started. My body couldn't take it anymore. So what happened was I had my first anxiety attack, a panic attack in January. I was having lots of headaches and trouble staying awake. So I started going home earlier, like 6 o'clock type thing, and I couldn't keep. And then pretty soon, all my projects started, falling by the wayside. I asked them, "Hey, what's a priority?" And I gave her a list of, here's my 30 projects. She's like, I said, "What's a priority?" She's like, "Everything's a priority." I said, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "That's what the director says. That's what I'm saying." I said, "That makes no sense. If I had 140 hours a week, I could do them all, but I don't. So you tell me." She's like, "I can't tell you." I said, "Well, okay, then they're not going to be as good as the way you want them to be. Or things are going to be delayed. Things are going to be, you just want me to keep communicating that things are delayed and we're not doing this, or this is low quality. I just think that's a dumb way to go." But anyways, so then in March, we were also at the time trying to start a family, my wife and I, and we were having trouble. So we went to the doctor, and then we went to the doctor in December, and then I had the panic attack in January, and I was so busy with work that I didn't go back to the doctor until March. I finally went back in March and said, "Listen, I think we have some issues here. I want to do some more testing, and then can you come back next week?" I said, "Oh, okay, sure." So I did that. The next week came by, I went back, and he said, "Bobby, it looks like you have diabetes." And I was like, "What?" And so he's like, "Your pancreas basically snapped around November, December." And the prognosis was that, because of all the stress that I was putting in my body in terms of working 80 plus hours a week, that my pancreas just snapped and I couldn't take it anymore. It wasn't providing me the insulin I needed. And so he said, "Yeah, you're diabetic." I said, "Can it be changed?" No. He's like, "No, you're definitely diabetic. Normal blood sugar is below 6.2. In December, your blood sugar was 12, and in March, your blood sugar is 16. And that's why you're tired. That's why you have headaches. And if you don't get control of this thing, it's going to kill you. So you need to get it under control." So I went to my boss, and I said, I went to HR and my boss, and I said, "Look, I need to take 2 weeks off to get my health under control. And then after that, I'd like to get to more normal hours of, say, 50 hours a week," is what I said, which is not really normal, but that's what I said. And, and so I mentioned that, and then 3 weeks later, my boss and HR came to me with a package saying, "See you later," and basically saying that we don't want to deal with you because it was a nice package, and I'd only been there for 8 months, but it was a very nice package. I was like, because I kind of blamed them too. I was like, well, this all happened in November, December when I was working 80 hours a week, and so that's kind of the circumstance of how I left. It wasn't like, and again, I didn't make that bold, brash decision, like the courageous decision. Oh, off and onward. I'm going to go and start my own business. And I'd always thought about starting my own business, but the truth is, I didn't do it on my own. Like, in terms, I had that push out there. Once I got out there, then things kind of started taking root because I started talking to my colleagues and my advisors and people I trust, and I started saying that maybe I don't want to do this anymore. And people started people implanted the seed in me that, hey, have you ever thought about becoming a professional speaker? I'm like, yeah. And for the longest time, I'd always dismiss it. No, I'm trying to make it in the corporate world. No, I'm trying to move up to the director level. No, I want to do this first. And that's a good question. Have I found the gift? Yeah. Well, yeah. So let me get to that in a second. So what I did was, and the other thing that happened was, my wife almost died of E. coli 2 months later, and she was in the ICU for 2 weeks, and then in the hospital for another 2 weeks, and then I took care of her for 2 months. And we're like, what's really important to us? And that's when I started diving into my personal brand. At the time, I didn't know that's what it was called, but that's what I was doing. I was diving into my values and doing surveys and doing personality traits and understanding, what I cared about. And that's when I developed my whole personal brand philosophy and plan, which is around things like Bobby loves people, nurturing, performing, presenting, persuasion, influence, and diversity. And from those 5 things, there was about a dozen things I thought I could do. I chose motivational speaking, and I just went into it. And and I haven't looked back since. I mean, yes, the world has changed, but I mean, for the most part, I still do it. I still do training and speaking. I still do webinars. I still do that kind of stuff. And that's like 15 years later. And because it aligns with my brand so much, it's very fulfilling, and I love doing it, and I get a lot of impact from it. And that focus and clarity also provides me with much more opportunity. So that's kind of how that all came about. In terms of the gift, I mean, one of the gift of being let go. There was a lot of gifts actually. The gift was, first off, they gave me an incredible package, which served as a support, an umbrella, or a support for me to launch my business and dive into my brand. I think that was really great. I had that time to do it, and I did it. The other gift was being more mindful of my health and trying to get my diabetes under control, which I mostly did. But I certainly put more time and energy into that. The other gift was being more realize what's more important to my wife and I in terms of the balance of our lives and having more autonomy in our lives and having balance. And I didn't want to work 80 hours a week again. In fact, when I started as an entrepreneur, as a motivational speaker, I was, I understand these people saying, you have to hustle, you got to work crazy hours. I was like, no, I'm not working crazy hours. I'm going to work good hours, effective hours. I'm going to work smart. Sure, I get every once in a while there's a deadline or something and I might have to work 50, 60 hours 1 week or even more. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with working crazy hours to get some project done or whatever. But in terms of an average thing, I wasn't willing to do that. I was not going to do that. I was like, you know what? I'm going to be mindful of my health. I'm going to have a social life. I'm going to have physical activity. I'm going to play badminton. Like, I was doing all these things. I want to do all these things and still do this stuff. And even more so when my kids are born, I was even less of that. I was like, you know what? I'm going to be a stay-at-home dadpreneur. And I actually only worked at that point when my kids were born about 25, 30 hours a week because I wanted to spend time with my kids. That's what I did. So that's kind of how I turned. And so for me, there was a lot of gifts from that. Finding flexibility, finding autonomy, finding my purpose, finding my gifts. The gift was finding my gifts. There's lots of things I got from finally being on my own. And most importantly, being forced to forge my path. A lot of people who don't want to forge their path because they either don't know what to do, or they feel stuck, or they feel lost, or they don't know what they're missing, or they create narratives that blind them to what's going on. That's why 76% of people are dispatched or unhappy with their jobs, right? Because they've created narratives, but when you really ask them point blank, they're like, yeah, I'm not really into this. So that's why I'm really big on personal branding and helping you with your journey and your career to really find the clarity and focus and purpose and direction you need. Because once you find something that you want to do the rest of your life and you get really excited about it, you want the rest of your life to start right away. So you get really excited. So that's the story of my kind of whole corporate exit. And I knew also from exploring my values and all the other things that I was doing that I didn't want to work with corporate anymore. One of the things I found out through analysis was that I don't like authority, I don't like structure, corporate structure, I don't like process. So when you take those three things, it didn't make sense to go in the corporate world. Although I do appreciate those things in my business now as an entrepreneur, because otherwise I'm like squirrel and I get distracted. But for the most part, having the structure that in process I need now to support my business is more important. But for the corporate thing, I wasn't into that. And I see some more comments here. Maybe you could talk about how one becomes a motivational speaker. It feels a bit more difficult than just, okay, I'm going to be a motivational speaker. Yeah, okay, I'll tell you what I did. So the first thing I did was, so how did I become a motivational speaker? Well, the first thing I did was I went to my friend Sanjay Nath, who has been a motivational speaker for years, and it was a mentor of mine. And one of the guys said, Bobby, have you ever thought about motivational speaking? So I went to him, and he said, listen, he gave me advice. He said, first thing you do is come up with 3 topics. What are 3 topics that you would love to talk about and you think you can talk about really well? And I remember I came up with 3 different kind of soft skill leadership stuff. One was called the 3 Ps of leadership, and the other 2 I don't even remember what I came up with because it was so long ago. But I did come up with 3 things, 3 topics, and that's the same methodology I use for people in my speaker mastermind. I said, look, if you want to become a speaker, come up with 3 topics that kind of relate to your brand, your story, and who you are and your expertise, and then then you start and making sure that there's relevancy to it out there. And then the second thing I did was I did a survey. I created a survey monkey, and a very complicated one in terms of topics, price points, all these different things, benefits you want from a speaker, benefits what are the benefits of the organization, things like that. And I sent that to over 100 people, 117 or so filled the survey out, and that gave me a ton of information on who I was, what my value was, what I could charge for an hour, a half a day, 3 days, that type of thing. So that's kind of what I did. And once I had that, then I started working on my branding materials. And then the first thing I did is I sent out a mailer to 500 people with a brochure. And then I sent an email to about 3,000 people in my Excel database. This is, again, before I was using LinkedIn. I had an Excel sheet where I've collected people's emails for years. And I just sent it to 3,000 people. I said, here's what I'm doing. And the beginning of my business was all referral. 80% of my business was all referral for the most part, for years. And and people saw what I was doing, and I go and do a good job, and keep learning, and getting better and better all the time. And that's kind of how the business got launched. Now, in terms of now, when I coach people in terms of how to become a speaker, it's the same thing. Number one, come up with your brand story. What is your personal story and your brand? That's why for those of you who took my storytelling workshop, I say, what is your 3-minute storytelling story? What is it? What's the story of your life? The story of who you are, of your brand. That's the first thing. Then the second thing is you now put together put together your speaker topics, and I'm really big on the kind of the triangle of 3 things. So the one I'd always do is, for me, it's very inspiring. Well, thanks, thanks. So I always like to do 3 with a central brand theme. So for me, my central brand theme was always power of connection, personal branding, topic number 1, the connection with the self, networking and building authentic relationships, connection with others, and then digital influence and social media, which is connection with the world. And so that's kind of the 3 areas in which I go out there and deliver stuff. I mean, it's changed now. Like, I mean, I've evolved things. I talk about storytelling, I talk about thought leadership, I talk about relationship building, I talk about communication skills and technology. But for the most part, that's how I started out doing that stuff. And so when I work with speakers, I said, that's what you need to do. And then the third thing that a lot of people don't know how to do is how to pitch. So coaching people on how to pitch a pitch document. So, if Angie, you want to be a motivational speaker, or any one of you want to be a motivational speaker, put together a pitch document. Put together an email subject line, what you're going to say in the email, and maybe and then what your attached document, if you're going to have one, what's it going to say, and then just post it in the group, and I'll critique it. We'll critique it for you, right? I mean, that's the whole point of this group. I mean, for those of you who haven't been engaging much lately, this is the opportunity for you you can share anything. You can throw in your LinkedIn profile and we'll critique it. You can throw in a document you're working on, or a PowerPoint presentation, or something, or a story you're working on, and we can critique it and give you support. You can throw in that I'm having trouble with this thing at work, or with my boss, or with my team, or whatever it might be, and we will give you the support you need. Not just me, but everybody. Everyone in this group has incredible ideas and support, and we're all actually fantastic at this. But what's interesting is not everyone's leveraging the power of the community of the group. When you're part of an exclusive community or group, there's incredible power with what you can do. So I highly recommend that all of you take advantage of that and use that to the best of your abilities. I know Angie and Claire are here, so like the two of you can share stuff. Anyone else who sees this, you can also share stuff. Most people don't want to share stuff. Why is that? I don't know. Maybe they don't want to be judged. They're like, oh, this is small. I don't want to bother people. What if nobody responds? You'll find that people respond, right? And this is a group where the culture is about responsiveness and engagement. That's a huge part of what we're doing here. And then some of the people in the group that haven't actually even shared their journey or even introduced themselves, say hello. Let us know what you're doing. I remember Warren shared this great video of himself. That was awesome. Like, I mean, not everyone has to do a video. We encourage videos, but like, that's great. Tell us who you are, what's going on, and let us know who you are, because that way, when people know who you are and what you're trying to do and what your challenges are, that leads to incredible fodder for follow-up questions on how are you doing at this and how are you doing at that, and do you have you any updates on this, and do you want to share? Like Angie asked the question about motivational speaking, so now I'm going to say, hey, do you have 3 topics, Angie, that can you share tomorrow or share next week your 3 topics? So these are things that we can do, and that's the best way for for us to help one another. All right, so I hope that covers all the different questions. If there's any other last minute questions, I'm happy to answer them. But for the most part, yeah, that's. I wanted to make sure that we kind of got into that, and I hope you found it inspiring and helpful. I love. I actually look forward to the weekly the 5 questions, because it's a chance for me to share a bit of my story, but also to help everyone here and facilitate some further discussion on your growth, on your journey, because that's what we're here for. The whole point here is to help everyone on their journey, career-wise, personal, professional, entrepreneurship, whatever it is you're trying to do, family, relationships. I'm actually pretty good at that. Another friend of mine thought I should become a relationship counselor. So if anybody wants relationship advice, I'm all about powerful relationships, right? So it doesn't matter what relationship with your parents, your partner, your kids, your boss, your social media network. I'm happy to help, because that's one of my main expertise is people and knowing people and how to help you build better people relationships. All right, guys, really appreciate your time. Have a safe and happy week. Keep looking for that gift in every moment that overwhelms you or is negative for you, because there is opportunity to find that. And if you have trouble, then comment and post and let us know how we can help you. All right, all the best. Take care.